Hello, my lovely listeners. I would like to talk today about talking and expressing yourself. I feel like there is a block recently, and it's been happening for some time now with talking and expressing myself. So, the first block is that I am feeling like my talking is not in logical order. I jump from thing to thing, from subject to subject, and I go into tangents, and I feel like I cannot express myself logically. So, point one, point two, point three. Another thing is that when I talk, I would like this to be a story. I would like this to flow. I would like this to have beginning, middle, and end. And from the beginning, I go off and in all the directions. It does take me to the end because I bring myself to the end, but in the middle is just all over the place. I've been listening to all the podcasters and people who have interviews and people who, like me, they talk to their audience. So I guess it's not a vlog. Obviously, it's just talking about the experiences, the feelings, the happenings, the connections, the things that they have to go through. So it's not an interview. It's like what I am doing is just like a diary. So I am going through things. I am experiencing things. I talk to other people. I have my own story, my own life, and I am talking about this, how I overcame things, and how I overcome things then is an example to others, and I can share what I have been through and what it meant for me and what it came out from this experience, what came out then in the future or now, and what I'm thinking, why it turned out this way, or what I've learned, or what I'm still learning. And obviously it is continuum, and I live through it as I am the separate individual person that I am. But as we are all one, we are similar in perceiving some things, or we can open, and we have many ways of perceiving this without labeling it as it's better or it's worse or it's good or bad. It's just the way of perceiving this. So my way, when I listen to someone talking about their life story, what they've been through, I am finding things that are valuable for me and that are helping me, and that in a way, I compare them, but it's not like comparing or bad or worse, but it's just like in an endless toolbox, finding tools for myself, but also finding reassurance, finding ways of overcoming, finding support support as I have chosen this way, and it brought these results, right? Or reassurance in the form of I have overcame this, it was really bad, and then my stages were this and that, and then at the end I am here now sharing this. And so kind of getting hope as well is one thing, explaining some things, but because we sometimes might feel very alone in some circumstances. I'm seeing quite a few now. It's January, so apparently, or January, not apparently, I'm not judging, but January can be some people say it's very dark. It's like there's January goes forever, and it's in the middle of winter. Days are still shorter, and it's just like beginning of the year, but it's kind of very slow. There is this lack of sunshine here in this part of the world. So there is post-holidays kind of a slump a little bit, I guess. So all of those things can make some people, I guess, more sad and just and maybe just a little bit depressed, and it's like a winter depression. So is a state of mind where I feel that I am hibernating, that I am I retrieved a little bit to then go out. I did a very short kind of holidays where I kind of picked up and perked up a little bit, and then I kind of moved away again, retrieved to my home, and with the new strength, I guess, or energy that I picked up on those little holidays. And what brought me joy, very similar things to other coffee with myself, a walk, a few hours of sunshine, looking at some interestingly dressed people, looking at fashion, going to the museum, and like I said on my other podcast, meditating in churches. That's what brought me joy. That was brought me energy. And now next week I am in another test environment, which I guess is stressful. It's not even like stressful, but it's not even, I don't want to call it stressful, but it's a test on my communication style, on my how I express myself. And somehow it turns out that I have difficulties with expressing myself, or I have difficulties with telling stories in a logical order, and I really have to work on that. And I don't know if that's because I might not believe in myself fully, and what I do makes a difference or is important. What I do is so mundane and so kind of low in the hierarchy of what everyone else is doing, and also goes back to this to the kind of assumption that I am so to say stupid. And now I can see how deep in me this feeling, or this belief in me sits, that it comes out in the way that I talk, because as if I wanted to really say, no, I know all those things. It's so easy for me. I can do it with my eyes closed. I am important. I hold so many spinning plates in the air. I help so many people, but in the same time, it's this maybe imposter syndrome that says if someone really looked deeply into me, they would find out how insignificant I am. So I'm just sharing my kind of my thoughts about this, and then someone would say, yes, but you I don't know, you go and do this podcast. Is kind of not many people can do that, or other things that I do on day-to-day basis, move countries, set up everything, all the admin work with, I don't know, buying the flat, this and that, and I did it all by myself, and bringing up a child, right? And I know I was speaking to someone at work, and she said for her well-being, she kind of turned off all the social media because it was really messing up her brain and messing up her well-being. It was really having a big impact on her well-being. And I was just thinking, wow, I treat social media mostly like a source of information, and all my selected sources, quite selected, because as an AI, it would feed me with usually things that I am looking at. So it's spiritual content, is self-development, is art and fashion, and I guess kittens. So there isn't much of anything else that I see. Obviously, there is the spiritual content and the self-development content. There is lots of interviews, and I like to observe those because I like to observe how both sides on the both side of interviewer and interviewee are behaving, what sort of energetics are there, what sort of atmosphere, what sort of questions. And then obviously there is a whole thing of the podcasts with loads and lots of podcasters and different podcasters with different characters. So I really like observing that. And I'm not sure how this person lives without this, and where does she take knowledge, where does she unless it's obviously in books, because you can definitely do it with books, but I guess I must say I stepped out of the books a little bit. I guess it's just I don't know, it's tiredness, or is the easiness of getting the knowledge from the phone, meaning from the audio rather than visual than reading. So the audio is very easy. You can do something else, right? You can do some other activities while you're listening to the podcast, or a reel or something like that. So as long as it's a little bit longer, even like meditation, affirmation. I was listening to some like the vibrational music, like some affirmation, but just like balls that are the music is being played with. So all sorts of these things, it comes in a digital format for me, and it comes from the phone. But see, obviously I digressed. So coming back to the, how do I express myself? Do I express myself in a way that I seem suitable and attractive for, let's say, for this job, suitable and interesting for people that I talk to? Another things that I have sometimes that I sometimes see is that I talk with someone, I guess maybe at someone, and I can see the yawn. And some people, and I work with a lot of trainers, and I work with a lot of coaches, and a lot of the trainers and coaches, they actually have a very strong personality. They are narrators. They like to talk a lot. Obviously, when you're running a training, when you're delivering some sort of knowledge, you have to have this. You have to be a good speaker, and sometimes or often when you're a good speaker, and it's not like. And it's not on purpose, and it's not something bad, but when you're a good speaker, the speaking part is so important to you that maybe when you are listening to other people, the listening part doesn't come as easy to you. And it's also how fast you think also with me when you are talking, and the words kind of coming to your mouth. That when someone else is talking, you are either you want to say and you want to respond, and when you don't get chance to respond, for sometimes when other person happens to also be talkative, you at some point maybe you get a little bit bored, or maybe it's something to do with me that I am not interesting enough for them. I'm not really sure. And I don't. What I have, if someone talks a lot and talks obvious things that I already know, or things that I feel that they are repeating just in another way, or if I really want to say something, then I get really kind of a bit agitated or a bit nervous, and I really try to interrupt them, which I know is not a great thing as well to do. It's really exercising the patience. So that's definitely important, to exercise the patience. And also, so the thing now talking to you, it kind of, again, as always, it kind of I kind of structure it in my head. So when I feel that I am not being structured enough, that I am not talking to the full about, when I'm not saying things that are structured enough or are or logically put together, I should take 2 deep breaths, start from the beginning. That's one point. If I start going on to tangents, I should take a step back, take a pause, and start from the beginning. Realize that, and not be afraid to take this pause and just start off again. Not go into tangents, maybe slow down. So that's another thing, another point that I need to do. So maybe slow down. The things that really sometimes I get hung up on is when I forget a specific word, and it doesn't matter. It could be a word in my language, and could be a word in English. It could be any word. So I get hung up on this word. So when I get hung up on this word, the one word that I think is so important in this sentence, I should again take a pause, take a breath, and I guess continue with the best replacement for this word that I can find. And I do that in this podcast, and I do that in my day-to-day talking, and I just have to get used to that. And it happens sometimes, not that often, and sometimes more often, but that's another thing. And then I practice. But I always think that practicing is really good. And for example, I practice when I talk on this podcast rather. I practice the flow of the talk, the flow of the speech. And the funny thing is, I guess, is it just shows my creativity very much, is that I never have a script for any of the podcasts. I did 70 plus episodes, and I never have a script, and I never practice for the podcast, for the episode. I in my head, I collect snippets from my days of things that happened, and then I kind of put a tick on it or a flag it in my head that this would be something too interesting to talk about. This is an interesting experience that I would like to share. This is the learning I've taken from this experience, and that's how I leave it. And then when I started talking, I'm hoping for the flow, and I am then hoping all those things will come up, because although I don't have it structured, I have those little flags put into in my brain somewhere, as if I put it in a drawer somewhere. So this is how it comes in for the podcast. For the interview, for the presentation, is probably not the same, but also what I mentioned in the very beginning, when I do the interview, when I do the, presentation, and I'm not necessarily very passionate about the subject. If I go for the job, it's not really, I am in a stage of my life that I'm still not in the stage of my life, to repeat myself, that I am in a job that I really love, that I am doing something with the passion to the fullest. I see it as stepping stones. I take parts of the job which I really like, which I always can find something interesting in any job, and it could be to do with anything. It could be to do with people that I work with, benefits, location, snippets of interesting information. I make it interesting by learning things. So is it, if it's Excel or other systems, how the system works. Is it how to even how to find things on Outlook, or how to I don't know, do things on Word, and anything from Microsoft. I haven't done coding, but yeah, if there are opportunities, I look for them for my own also benefit, to not get bored, I guess. This is my Gemini coming up. I like lots of information. I am good at many things, and it's a little bit of surface level, maybe a little bit below the surface, but it's many things. And I am really quick in picking up this information and kind of taking them in. And I really, in all of this, as you know, it's a podcast about spirituality, but I embrace my spirituality, and it comes up as many things, as empathy, asking this maybe a little bit different questions, really looking people into their eyes and kind of trying to find out who they really are. And corporate jobs are corporate jobs. They operate in a very 3D environment, and sometimes it's hard to find the not sometimes, it's hard to find the spirituality in this. But yes, when you work with people, the spirituality that you want, they want it or not, is going to be there. And I do find people who are very deeply spiritual and are my colleagues and from work, and work there as well, and sometimes I'm surprised, like the 3D work, the kind of 9 to 5 mundane work is so much different to anything 5D and ethereal and energy driven. But in the same time, what brings it all together is the humanness of us, and the part that we live in on earth, and that we created some laws for us to potentially make the life easier. Things like countries and towns and governance and things, how there's a red light and a green light, and that's when we cross the street, and that's how we stop. So everything can operate on the good level, right? This is a code to my house. This is how the food is getting delivered. This is so all those things, they are regulated, they are set up, they are kind of scheduled, and sometimes it's very rigid, but we live in this. And I guess for people like me, first of all is acceptance, second of all is appreciation, and I am not happy when people break some rules. For example, I am not happy when people litter, or I am not happy when people leave their dogs poo on in the garden and don't clean up after themselves. And I go and do this for them, and I go and clean up the rubbish for them, and I go and clean up the poo. And for me, people like this, this is the level of spirituality and living as one, and understanding my impact on other people on a very basic level, but still there is. And people who are living like this, who let their dog, do poo and not pick it up, who leave litter, who just unwrap something and throw it on the pavement, who spit on the pavement and things like this. They are on the level of understanding, and then on the energetic level that is very much connected to 3D, and that is requiring a lot of development. But in the same time, I also have to understand that this is what they soul agree to come to experience, this sort of level of development and of understanding themselves and their surrounding. And it's not about it. I wouldn't probably even help if I came up to this person and say, do you understand what impact you are making when you throw the rubbish, or let your dog just do that? It probably wouldn't help, because it only helps when this particular person is ready. So is ready within them, and it's sometimes they are ready sometimes when something happens, when they maybe reach certain age, or maybe they even financial situations is better, because there's many factors that you have to think of. But I digressed, so slowly circle back to how I express myself and what do I talk about in the interview, so that from what I am saying, everyone sees my importance, and everyone sees my competence, and everyone sees the skills that I have, and how I can also show the sort of passion which, like I was trying to explain, it might not really be there, but I created anyway. And also I want to show the responsibility that I take with everything that I do, and all the tasks that I am producing, that I do have the attention to detail. I'm not going to go through my interview now, and I'm just saying it out loud. If you also have this sort of challenges, I guess, finding this within yourself, and first definitely is finding within yourself, finding the self-confidence. So that is about the expressing yourself. And then at the back of my mind, there is obviously the fact that if I am rejected, what's going to happen? The self-confidence then will drop, and then you go through a tiny mini grieving kind of process. So rejection, sadness, anger, acceptance. If I forgot one of the stages of the grieving, you can remind yourself. And after this rejection, definitely the rejection that I had actually from another interview that I went through, that I had, and I had the grieving kind of stages, quite strong. And it was interesting when I was able to step out. It was interesting to observe that. So I was my own kind of little experiment. I don't know why I'm getting kind of feeling of heavy chestness in my chest at the moment. Very good to observe your body and kind of observe and see things like this happening as well, so that you can maybe start regulating yourself. The awareness, and that you observe, that is definitely the first step. They say that's the most difficult step, but once you start doing this, it becomes easier and easier. So yes, I guess wish me luck. I feel like I've spoken enough. I feel like, as always, I thank you for listening, because me talking here also helps me a lot. I hope it helped you a lot as well. And yeah, fingers crossed. And if you're going through something like this as well, believe in yourself, take breath, work with your breaths, work with your breathing, and I always say, if it's meant to be. I know it's a very kind of thing that everyone say, but is really, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If not, something better will come. So thank you again, and I speak to you soon. Bye bye.